In this new digital age, with the exponential growth in internet and technology, there's been a stronger call for the protection of personal data. The General Data Protection Regulations was adopted in the EU in 2016 with the aim of bolstering individuals' privacy. It comes into effect in May 2018. So for countries outside of the EU, it's going to be difficult for them to understand whether they need to comply or they don't need to comply. With this in mind, you need to consider two options. And the two things that you need to consider is, are you a controller or a processor in the EU, or do you process the personal data of EU residents? The disparities of data protection legislation on the African continent can certainly prove challenging to multinational organizations, especially those which have holding companies in the EU but have a presence on the African continent. So the question is, how do we then comply with our local legislation as well as that of the GDPR? And the answer to that is by adopting a higher data protection standard, and your compliance efforts can definitely be streamlined in this manner. Key changes in GDPR that an organization needs to consider is consent. How does an individual actually consent to you processing their personal information? Another key change that you need to consider is privacy by design. And what this essentially means is that an organization needs to consider privacy actually from the outset of a business process change, or even the implementation of a new software or new application, or changes in their actual organization of their business. The penalties for non-compliance with GDPR is actually probably one of the biggest reasons to comply. It could be as severe as up to 4% of your global revenue or 20 million euros, whichever is higher. And what this means for you right now is that your roadmap to compliance is actually quite critical. You need to be able to put in your data protection compliance measures in place now in order for you to comply by the deadline for May 2018.